Wow. Okay, I just have to start with wow. And I learned that wow means way out wonderful. So we are here to explore Pallas Athena, a new cycle starting in a couple of days from now on May 19th, actually about 4 days from the time of this recording. And that's going to begin about a year and 4 month cycle of Pallas Athena, and it's going to be in the sign of Scorpio. Now, the last time we had something this close to what is happening and unfolding right now was in 1987. And so the retrograde started within a few days of where it started this year. The opposition to the sun was within a few days. And the sign that Venus was in, Pallas Athena was in at the time of the starting of the cycle was Scorpio. And interesting, in 1987, Congress passed a I don't know what they called it, a declaration, I guess, maybe, or something like that, that March would be uh, um, National Women's History Month. And so for the US, so this happened in the US, but before it had been a week-long National History, Women's History Month, week, but then they decided to make it a whole month. And that happened in 1987. So that gives us some clues about what's going on. The other thing that was happening in 1987 was the harmonic convergence, as most people might remember who were around at that time. And it was a really big deal. People gathered all over the planet. I got to go to Sedona and there were thousands of people, it seemed like, that were there. So and that happened just a few months after the cycle began. So what we're looking at is the overarching theme. We could say the meta Pallas Athena, the bigger aspect of her that was playing out on the world stage back in 1987 and is coming back to play out on the world stage in 2024 in Scorpio. And this is one of the archetypal energies that has been most maligned by our current dominator culture. We could say patriarchy. And because it's such a powerful energy, it was one that had to be put down. So that's why they burned women at the stake for being witches or for expressing their power in any way. And so we really haven't had an opportunity to be in the strength and power of the feminine. And this is very much as we see it in the expression of the story of Pallas Athena. And so now it's going to be about a year and 4 months or so that we'll have this opportunity to reclaim this in a new way, to really look at the shadow of what's happened and to transmute and transform that shadow, because Scorpio is all about the alchemy, taking the shadow pieces and bringing them to light so that we can integrate the pieces that have been lost to us, the aspects of the feminine that have been lost to us, and to be empowered by that. And Scorpio, when it's in its power and its strength and its power, it's nothing to be afraid of. It's something to be celebrated. It's like, yes, live our passion, live from the place of knowing that we can be our true selves, that we don't have to hide. We don't have to give ourselves up to be in a patriarchal culture that says women are supposed to be a certain way. And we've all had to do that. Well, I'm guessing most of us have had to do that anyway. I know in my generation, and I'm close to your generation, Meredith, we've had to do that to survive, and that Pallas Athena had to do that to survive. So these are some of the opportunities that we have with Pallas Athena and Scorpio. So the exact cycle starts May 19th when the sun and Pallas Athena reach opposition at 29 Scorpio. The sun will be at 29 Taurus. So we have like a full moon effect at 29 degrees of the sign when this cycle starts, meaning that it's time to come to some bigger completion. And I'll share more about that in a moment. But for now, I'm going to just turn this over to you and let you wow us with what you have to say.
Well, I have I did a lot of writing yesterday and last night, and some of it I just think is so darn good I might read from it. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm reading for something I spent a good, wonderful amount of time just exploring Morgan Markwell's work and Demetra George's book, The Asteroid Goddesses. And so anyway, there's some great quotes I want to share and information from both those two wonderful people, women.
I just quickly, Morgan is the one I started doing this work with. We've mentioned it before, but she passed last year in April of 2023. And it's really exciting that I get to do this with Meridith to keep this work moving forward. And she did so much to really tune into how are we transmuting and transforming the karma of what has happened in the patriarchal culture. So yeah, thank you.
Right. Before diving into all the gifts and transformational opportunities of the archetypal energy of Pallas Athena, as she moves out of Cancer and into Scorpio, I thought it would be good to share just a little bit about the asteroids and why we think this is so important, and why these archetypes and these asteroids are so important, and why it's important to follow the journey right now of Pallas Athena through the astrological signs. And Kaylin spoke to some of that just now. So for those of you that know a little bit, and those of you that don't know a lot or at all what the asteroids are, the female asteroid goddesses are now very much being used in astrology. And however, there are 4 primary asteroids, and they're named after goddesses in the Roman mythology, and they're Ceres, Vesta, Pallas Athena, and Juno. And they're located in the asteroid belt that lies between the personal planets. So they're between Sun, Mercury, Venus, Moon, and Mars. And on the other side of that asteroid belt are the social planets, Jupiter and Saturn, and after which come the collective planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So, gosh, I have Demetra George's book, Asteroid Goddesses, The Mythology, Psychology, Astrology of the Reemerging Feminine, is so dog-eared and so penciled up and so highlighted that I'm going to have to buy a new book. It's an amazing book. We'll put that in the show notes. She calls these 4 asteroids vehicles, I love this, vehicles of rapidly vibrating birthing energy that act both as agents for transformation and the symbolic keys that are the links between the personal and our social collective awakening. So they are a bridge, and they are very potent and up for us right now. She calls them, even these asteroid goddesses, she calls them the carriers over the bridge. And she says they're representative, and of course, you know, they are representative of the astrological signs Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio. And they bring us from individualized consciousness, Aries through Leo, into collective consciousness, Sagittarius to Pisces. But however, you know, when you study the mythology, and you study the mythology of the asteroid goddesses in particular, you see that embedded in even the naming of the constellations and the star stories of these traditional asteroid goddesses are historical and cultural mythological distortions. And they're distortions of the divine feminine. So it really is the work of our time to revision these stories, take a look at them, and not dismiss them as like, oh, well, that's another time and another place, and I can't relate to that, but to understand the underlying archetype and the purpose of that archetype, so that they can carry us over that bridge into the new age that we're in now, the new Aquarian age. So Kaylin mentioned Morgan Markwald, and Kaylin gave me all her research when we first started doing this. I guess we started talking about it months ago, and I was so drawn to the passion that she had for this particular asteroid goddess, this archetype, to move us through the time and move us into the reawakening of the divine feminine. And I was so moved by that. So a lot of what I'm going to share, and I'll reference her as much as I can, comes from her work. So in her research on Pallas Athena, she says that in the journey of Pallas Athena through the signs, that we come to realize the strategic strength of this archetype. and the wisdom and creative intelligence inherent in the multidimensional identity and the power that this archetype holds to heal distortions, clear karma, and lead the reemergence of the divine feminine. Now, I'm one of those people that, you know, she wasn't the top of my goddess archetypes whenever I took the test. She was in my top 3, but I really, as a younger woman, I had a problem with. I thought that the Athena archetype was kind of a sellout. But what I've come to understand in time and experience, what I've come to appreciate about this archetype, Pallas Athena, is that without this archetype, without her wisdom, her strength, her strategic intelligence, without that, she's responsible for what vestiges of the goddess culture that we still have, and that carried through the dominant culture that we are now seeing dissolve, and we are readying for this reemergence of the divine feminine. So that's why she's so important. And that's why these Athena talks, the Athena project, I like to call it, that's why we feel it's so important. So again, Athena is leaving, as she leaves her time in the Synodic cycle of Cancer. It's time for us to acknowledge the work that was done, to look at the mother-sister wounds that we've looked at, and we will still you know, we're not over. This work isn't over. There's still work to do, healing the mother wounds and the sister wounds, the wounds of competition and rivalry and warring and all of that. But as she leaves her time, we look at the work that we've done personally and collectively in the time that she was in the Synodic cycle of Cancer, the patriarchal programming that maybe the reprogramming, or our awareness that is something that isn't important anymore and isn't working for us. Maybe the self-care and boundary work we've done when she spent her time in Cancer. And as we leave, I think our hearts are more open. I think we're more available to ourselves and others. And even though this work continues, when you look back at 1987 and you look at where we are now, I think you can see that there's been so much progress, so much progress. So the move into Scorpio will move Pallas Athena even deeper into these transformational waters. In Scorpio, this archetype of Pallas Athena, she faces the karmic blocks to her innate gifts. This is different than the Cancer journey. She must take care of herself and use the compassion that she's learned from her time in Cancer. Just use that to unlock the power she carries from her father Zeus, the wisdom from her mother Meridith, and the instinctual knowing from her sister Medusa, and return to herself the wholeness of this archetype as leader, strategist, protector, wise woman, alchemical healer, and creative. I think there's some. I'm going to let Kaylin speak to more of the astrology. She's the expert here.
I don't know about that, but what just so you know, again, the Cancer Pallas Athena began in February of 2023, and Morgan passed in April of 2023, and there's the videos, and I'll put them again in the show notes that we did on that way back then. But this is really the first time since we just started looking at the Cancer. Like, we could have done more, but she wasn't able to. And so this is an opportunity now to work with the Scorpio mysteries all the way through the cycle. And so we're gonna continue to do that and keep diving deeper into what's possible here. But this cycle starts, as I mentioned earlier, on May 19th, and it goes till August 7th of 2025. And then it'll be in Aquarius. And I'm loving it because it's very close to where my actual Pallas Athena is on my chart. It's like minus 13 Aquarius, and it'll be at 15 Aquarius when it reaches opposition to the sun. So I
Wow.
find that to be fascinating. And of course, I have a lot of Scorpio on my own chart. So I've been working with these archetypal energies personally anyway. And so now to work with them from the perspective of Pallas Athena is really great. And so Pallas is retrograde, always retrograde when she's opposite the sun. And that means that even though we can't see her in the sky, she's closer to the Earth. Anytime a planet is retrograde, they're closer to the Earth, so they have a bigger impact on the Earth. And she's returning to Scorpio on May 18th, then opposite the sun on May 19th, and the sun goes into Gemini on May 20th, but they are still pretty close together. So there's closeness from at least the 18th, 19th, and 20th of May that's seeding a new possibility around these Scorpio mysteries as they are expressing through Pallas Athena and dealing with these shadow pieces. Then she goes direct on July 5th at 15 Scorpio. And then I'm sorry, not 15 Scorpio. Let me look at the right thing here. 94.7 to 24 on July 9th at 20 Scorpio. I was looking at the wrong one. So she went retrograde on March 29th at 8.5 Sagittarius. So in 1987, she went retrograde in Sagittarius. So it was like 1 degree, and then she came back to 12 Scorpio when she went direct back in 1987. So it's the closest one, because in 2010, when she was also in Scorpio, she was only at 23 Scorpio when she went retrograde and came back to 4 Scorpio. So she didn't start in Sag, but she did end in Scorpio, and she was off at the sun in Scorpio in 2010. So that's also a possible, one to look at, because it would have been the Scorpio meta goddess on the world stage, Pallas Athena meta goddess on the world stage at that time. And we'll look at more details and things further down the line, but just so we have this understanding that when she's opposite the sun, meaning it's like a full moon effect, when the sun and the moon are opposite each other, it's like fully lit, the full illumination possibility is there, and the new synodic cycle begins and will last until the next time Pallas Athena comes into opposition to the sun, and that'll be in August of 2025. So we have a little over a year to work with this archetypal energy. And this is actually the first time this has happened that I've had awareness of it. And probably many of you listening have had awareness of it, so that we, through our attention and intention, are helping to create a new way of experiencing this archetypal energy as it expresses through Pallas Athena, and to heal the wounds of the past, to do the alchemy, to create a new way of being, have a new story about how this is coming forward, to be able to stand in the strength and power of the Scorpio mysteries, to create the magic that's possible when we're really calling forth these energies within ourselves, to live our passion, to passionately show up and be who we're meant to be. And this is for men and women alike, because we all have the feminine expression within ourselves, and no matter what gender we are or how we identify or any of that, this is the opportunity to really activate that magical aspect that knows she's in alignment when she feels passionate about what she's doing, when she feels that aliveness, when she feels that energy. And it's not about power over others. It's about really tapping into that personal strength and power within, and being able to express it from that place. So I just want to also mention Rowena Patty Kreider, who I got a chance to experience back in the 90s. And she used a term that I really liked, and I don't know if she got this from somewhere else, but I'm just going to say this is where I heard the term, called, instead of matriarchy or patriarchy, that we're now coming into a synarchy, a synthesis of the masculine and feminine together. And I think that these Scorpio mysteries can be really helpful in us, how do we bring them together? How are we interweaving the energies of the healthy divine feminine and the healthy divine masculine? That's our opportunity in the cycle. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, back over to you, Meredith, to bring it home.
That was so good. So I want to get back to some quotes from Morgan, her research into Pallas Athena. And Athena's, when she was writing, Athena was in her Cancer meta cycle, Synodic cycle. And she writes that when Pallas Athena is in Sagittarius, which she was when she retrograded, what, March 25th? She retrograded, yeah. So she writes that when
No,
when
March 29th. March 29th, she retrograde.
29th, thank
Yeah,
you.
you're right.
That that brings an opportunity to take another look, another go around at the blockages to our inner source and what we think is possible. So that Sagittarian influence of higher thinking and having no bounds, you know, to where what we think is possible, that Jupiterian optimism. And so we got a little flash of that. And then she writes that when Pallas Athena is in Scorpio, that this provides an even deeper opportunity than the Cancer journey of Pallas Athena to release the wounds. It's a deeper, deeper wound that we're going into, and the karmic distortions that would block us from, as you were saying, Kaylin, to access our magic depths and our creativity and our alchemical healing, and also the healing power of our Kundalini energy in Scorpio. So this is a starting from and all the way up, you know, clearing those blocks to be fully present as an embodiment of the divine feminine, and in men and women. This is not unique to women. The divine feminine principle, there's this happening in the synergy, as you said. This is a new, as part of the new age that we're moving into. And I wanted to leave you with a quote from Demetra George, and I just love this quote, that Athena in Scorpio is the dissolution stage of the transformational process. And here is where the compressed emotional energy, it's been compressed, is released. And with it, the potential for accessing powerful creative energy. That's that Kundalini energy. So I think this is going to be a deep transformational journey with the promise that what's uncovered will bring us more in touch with the power of our deepest feminine creativity. And this is what I get excited about. And closer to manifesting something new for ourselves and for the collective, from the reimagined consciousness of the divine feminine. And this is Pallas Athena's, this is where she lives. Pallas Athena, one of her qualities is she has the quality to put into motion things that she, you know, that visioning, you know, using her mind, reimagining, and then making that happen. So as Pallas Athena in Scorpio invites us to go deeply, to do our work and heal, she also invites us to stop hiding from ourselves and the world, and release the old stories that stop us from being the powerful, creative, capable beings that we truly are.
And truly, it's like, how do we get in touch with the magic of who we are? It's through the life force, through the Kundalini energy. And when we have the Kundalini magical life force energy alive within us, then there's nothing we cannot manifest and co-create with great mystery. So we'll be sharing more of this with you as we go through this cycle. And just wanted to make sure everybody had the information as it's getting ready to start. It's like just a few days from now. And be sure and check out the show notes, because there'll be additional links and information there that might be helpful to you in engaging this magical time with Pallas Athena in the Scorpio cycle. So thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Whoops.